Hello, I'm Judge Sunshine Sykes. I'd like to introduce you to a program that I'm really excited about. It's called Youth Court. But before I begin, I want to share a little bit about myself. I attended Stanford Law School, where I studied Indian law and juvenile law. After law school, I worked as a staff attorney and Equal Justice Works Fellow at the California Indian Legal Services, and then as a contract attorney on the Juvenile Defense Panel. In 2005, I moved to Riverside, California, and served as a deputy county counsel at Riverside County Office of County Counsel until 2013. In 2013, I was appointed to the California Superior Court by Governor Jerry Brown. When appointed, I became the first Native American judge to sit on the Riverside Court. So now a little bit about Youth Court. This program is a court for the youth, run by the youth. It's a program that has been active across the country for many years, and here in Riverside since the early 90s. There are two ways that the court functions. One, as a court for unreported at-risk behaviors, and two, as a Welfare and Institutions Code 664 diversion program. Under the first model, a community or school operates independently. At-risk youth are identified and sent to the youth court. A minor can be referred by parents, schools, or community leaders. The upside is that there are no other community stakeholders are involved. The downside is that there is nothing compelling a minor to participate, like an outstanding arrest and prosecution. The second model is the one that I recommend most. When a minor is arrested in the community, before the arrest report is filed with the district attorney's office for prosecution, the minor is diverted to the youth court instead. If the minor successfully completes the program, then the arrest report is shredded and the minor maintains a clean arrest record. The upside to this model is the opportunity to avoid criminal prosecution, juvenile court, probation, and a record of conviction. The downside is that this model requires coordination with arresting agencies, probation, and the district attorney's office. In order to coordinate with these agencies, I recommend that you contact Supervising Deputy District Attorney Jerry Lopez. Now let's talk about the nuts and bolts of the program. We'll use the Welfare and Institutions 664 model. First, a police officer gathers arrest reports for minors in your community and delivers them to an adult program coordinator. It's important that all volunteers commit to absolute confidentiality on all matters involving juveniles. Next, the adult youth court leader gathers volunteer youth attorneys within the community for an attorney's meeting. The volunteer youth are usually high school students that are leaders within their schools and have shown success in school or are interested in legal careers. The attorney's meeting is usually conducted at least 2 days prior to the day set for the youth court hearings. At the attorneys' meetings, volunteer peer attorneys are assigned cases and will act as prosecutors or defense attorneys. The adult volunteer will use the Blue School Crimes booklet, provided in the PowerPoint, to discuss legal consequences of each offense. The group will discuss each case and work out any questions or concerns. The peer attorneys will then take the information and work on their script for the next couple of days. On the day of court, adult volunteers, accused minors and their parents, and peer attorneys will arrive at least 1 hour prior to prepare. Adult volunteers will meet with the parents to fill out forms, which are contained in the PowerPoint. Peer defense attorneys will interview the minor clients. Peer prosecuting attorneys will also meet with the minor with their peer defense attorneys and ask questions about the case. The attorneys will practice their scripts.
So hi, I'm Natalie. You're Christine, right? Okay, so basically what's going to happen is we're going to go in there and I will be representing you. So I'm going to go up and give a few statements about kind of what happened, who you are, and then the juries will have an opportunity to ask you questions as well. So for my statements, I like to get to know you a little bit. But first I kind of want to hear like what happened from your perspective. So can you tell me what happened in this incident?
So I was on my friend's Instagram account and I was scrolling through it, and I saw that this girl in my classes, like, we don't really get along that well, but she posted on her private fake Instagram about me, and she just made fun of me and said that I was ugly and that no one in the school should even bother talking to me. So that obviously got me like really upset. And the next day when I saw her in the hallway, she turned around and started laughing at me, and I just punched her because I was so angry at like what she had done.
Okay, so aside from this, have you ever been in trouble at school before? Anything like that?
No.
And how would you say that you do in school? Do you think you get good grades?
I'd
Those
say
are the
like
teachers.
pretty average, like maybe like B's, B pluses,
Okay. And do you know what your GPA is?
like a 3.2 maybe.
Okay, that's pretty good. And what's your future plans? Do you have any?
I think I'm gonna go to a community college nearby and then hopefully transfer,
Okay,
but we'll see.
that's a great option. And so one of the things that I like to do in these meetings is kind of prep you just a little bit for questions that jury members might ask. So something that gets asked a lot is kind of like what else could have been done. So, you know, instead of punching your friend when you saw her laughing at you, is there anything else you could have done to kind of ease the situation?
I guess I like could have talked to her, but I was just so mad.
Mm-hmm.
But I like should have.
Yeah. And do you know, like, in the future, if there's anything you would do instead of kind of like shoving, or when you get mad to kind of control that impulse?
I guess just walk away.
Okay,
Like, I definitely feel bad about it.
that's good, that's good. So do you see yourself doing this again in the future?
No.
Okay, great. Well, thanks. I'm gonna work on my speech a little bit, and then I'll see you inside.
Okay, thank you.
So my name's Hans Bridge. I'm going to be representing the people here, so I'll be representing the prosecution side. And we have your police report here. We have the incident report. But I was hoping to get it from you, just kind of the story. So you walked up to the girl at school, and can you say what happened from there?
Well, she turned around and started laughing at me, so I just like punched her.
And then before that happened, did you have any history with this girl? Is there a reason?
Well, she's in one of my classes, we don't really get along, but she had posted on like a private Instagram about me, like just making fun of me and saying that no one in the school should be my friend, so obviously that got me like really upset.
And when did she post that?
About a week ago.
Okay. And in between that week and when the fight happened, had you guys been fighting throughout that week?
Well, I hadn't seen her, but everyone was talking about it and just like kind of making comments about it, like in the hallway and in class and stuff.
Okay.
Next, the youth court is called to order. Volunteer peer attorneys, volunteer youth and youth court participants from prior hearing who are serving their 3-day jury duty commitments, are seated in the jury box. The bailiff, usually an ROTC cadet or sheriff's explorer, calls the youth court into session and announces the judge. The judge welcomes everyone and asks the volunteer peer clerk to call the first case to order. Finally, the judge asks the attorneys to state their appearances. Let's take a listen.
Before we begin, I want to touch on the importance of our program this evening. The matters in the youth court are every bit as important as real cases in real court. The cases that come before the youth court are real cases involving minors from our community. I also want to very much impress upon the parties the importance of confidentiality.
At this time, I'd like to call the matter of Christine Bloom. Are the parties ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your Honor.
Could you please state your appearances?
My name is Hans Bridge, and I will be representing the people of the state of California.
Good evening, Your Honor. My name is Natalie Bear, and I will be representing Christine Bloom.
The judge swears in the parties. First, everyone in the jury raises their right hand and swears confidentiality and respect for one another. Next, the judge swears in the accused minor. Let's listen in.
And good evening, Ms. Bloom. Could you please raise your right hand?
Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Very well.
Next, the judge invites the prosecutor to deliver their opening statement to the jury, followed by an invitation for the defense to deliver its opening statement. Let's listen.
On April 18, 2017, Ms. Christine Bloom got in a fight with another student. Now, the history of this fight went back 1 week earlier, when the victim in this case, the person who was punched, posted something on Instagram, calling Ms. Bloom some offensive names. A week had then passed after that Instagram post was made public, where students at the school were talking about this post. Ms. Bloom was angered by the things said by other students and by the things said on that Instagram post. So a week later, when she saw the other student laughing at her on the playground, she punched her in the face. Now, there was an entire week that went by before the actual physical confrontation happened. There are a lot of ways that this could have been avoided. Ms. Bloom, unfortunately, did not use any of those options available to her. I would recommend the high term in this case, so that way we can provide her with resources that she needs to avoid the situation from happening again. Thank you.
Thank you, counsel. Is the defense ready to deliver their opening statement?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
On April 11, 2017, Christine Bloom was on Instagram, scrolling through when she saw a nasty post about her on her friend's private Instagram account. Now this post, it didn't just say mean things about her. The post called her dumb, ugly, and said that no one in the school liked her. Miss Bloom was very hurt by this. And when 1 week later, she saw her friend laughing at her with other students, she got angry and she punched her. But Miss Bloom is very sorry that she did this. She knows that it was wrong and has even told me about steps that she will take to remedy the situation if this was to happen again. Now, Miss Bloom does very well in school. She has about a 3.2 GPA and gets mostly B's. She's never been in trouble at school before and wants to go to a community college for 2 years and then transfer to a UC. She doesn't want one bad decision to affect her future plans. So that's why we recommend the low term, because Miss Bloom understands what she did and wants to spend her time devoted to her studies. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Baer.
The accused minor also gets an opportunity to make a statement to the jury, followed by a question and answer period from the jury and judge. Let's take a look.
What your thoughts are about this incident?
Well, I feel really bad about it, and I definitely could have taken a different direction, but in the future, I'll make sure to talk to the person before taking any physical action, and I'm sorry for what I did.
At this time, I'd like to invite the jury to ask any questions of Christine. Does anyone have a question? Yes?
Have you faced any consequences at home or at school?
My parents grounded me since that has happened, and I haven't been allowed to go hang out with my friends or go anywhere except for school and basketball.
Does anyone else have any questions? There being no other questions, at this time, the court would like to ask you some questions, Christine. First of all, I'm wondering, why didn't you go to your parents? Why didn't you try, or school administrators?
I don't know, I guess I just felt really awkward about what happened, and I didn't want to make it into a bigger deal than it already was because everyone was already talking about it, so I thought that maybe someone else would tell the school, and I didn't want to tattletale.
Well, I want you to also remember this, that this isn't the worst thing in the world by any means. Young people make mistakes. You made one, and it shouldn't hold you back from attaining any of your dreams. You'll do the consequences that the jury will determine, and then you'll move on from this case. All of this arrest, everything will be gone. You won't even have to report it on your college forms or to anyone, because you will have made amends for what you did. And that's the good thing. I want you to remember, people make mistakes. The key is to learn from your mistakes.
The judge will now ask the attorneys to deliver their closing arguments. It's at this time when the attorneys make their plea to the jury for an appropriate sentence. Let's listen to the closing arguments.
Is the prosecution ready to give the closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed.
You heard of a lot of important things tonight. You heard that Miss Bloom has good grades. You heard she tries hard in school, and you heard that she's very sorry. And those are important things. But we also have to remember how the scenario played out in this case. We had an entire week go by. This wasn't a case where someone said something to her and she punched her right back. She had a week to think about this. She had a week to use resources. As Judge Marquez said, she had a week to go to her parents, a week to go to a school counselor, and she did not do any of those things. The high term and an anger management class is necessary to help Ms. Bloom better address these problems when they come up in the future. And that is why the people continue to recommend the high term. Thank you.
For the defense, do you have a closing argument?
Yes, Your Honor.
You may deliver your closing argument now.
Now, tonight you heard how sorry Christine was. She feels so bad that she punched that girl. And yes, she had a week to go to resources, but when she heard that girl laughing at her, that was what made Christine punch that girl. Now, she does feel really bad, and she has already faced consequences at home. She will never do this again, and she realized tonight how her actions have extreme consequences, not only for her, but for her family as well. That is why we recommend the low term with an anger management class. Thank you.
Next, the judge will instruct the jury. The detailed instructions to the jury are contained within the PowerPoint. The jury is given a form with a list of obligations needed to be completed by the minor as a punishment. Some of the punishment include, and are not limited to, community service, a number of jury services, and a letter of apology. The length of jury services and community service will be determined based off the scope of the crime. The judge will then excuse the jury for their deliberations with an adult volunteer. Let's watch. When the jury returns to the courtroom, the parties will stand for the verdict. The judge will ask the jury foreperson to read the verdict. The judge will then ask the minor if he will commit to fulfilling the terms and conditions of the jury's verdict and finish with encouraging words. Let's watch.
The jury has selected the midterm for Christine, with 2 days of jury service, 15 hours of community service, an apology letter, and a life plan essay. We want to commend the minor for her honesty and willingness to do better. As for constructive, we encourage Christine to participate in counseling to learn better and more constructive ways to deal with frustration, disappointment, and anger.
Thank you. Christine, how do you feel about hearing that from the jury? Do you feel it's fair?
Yes, Your Honor.
Very well. I'm going to ask you then, are you willing to abide by the terms of the disposition?
I am.
And then I'm going to invite you to go back with your parents to sign the forms with the deputy. And at this time, that concludes the youth court program. Thank you for your participation.
So that's the process. It was my pleasure to present this brief look at youth court to you. If you're interested in building the program within your community, please don't hesitate to contact me. My contact information is contained within the binder. Thank you for taking the time to consider this very worthwhile program.